The exploration of space has long been a dream for humanity, and one that's become possible with the invention of the rocket. Rocket science is often used as a descriptor for something that's difficult or complex, but really it's just about making things go boom and directing the explosion in the correct direction to make propulsion. Of course, where explosions are concerned, there's the possibility for weaponry. And since the ancient Chinese started launching the equivalent of modern fireworks at their enemies, rockets have been a common sight on almost any battlefield, especially for when you absolutely need to reduce something to a smoking crater. Werner von Braun once stated that he was proud of the rockets he designed, but saddened that they'd landed on the wrong planet. In ARMAJET, though, we're on other planets and still firing rockets at each other. Somehow, I doubt that would make him feel better. In some games, these are used as a reward to make subsequent playthroughs ridiculously easy. In others, they're rare weapons given to make certain bosses possible. In other arena shooters like Quake and Unreal Tournament, they're high-power weapons that can turn the tide instantly. It's time then for a Loadout Lowdown. Ahoy! Captain Benzie here, coming at you in association with the Fiery Tail ARMAJET team, with another Loadout Lowdown weapon guide. This series is designed to help you learn the ropes of ARMAJET on the off chance that some of you scrubs might actually get good enough to compete. This channel is loaded with ARMAJET content, and if you enjoy these videos and want to see more, you can help support this channel by giving the videos a thumbs up, leaving comments, subscribing, and letting the ads play out. Of course, you can also join this epic crew over on my Patreon too. Alright, load up and strap in, let's get this show on the road. The Havoc is a free-fire rocket launcher that fires single rockets at a time in a straight trajectory. The rockets have a fairly slow travel speed compared to other weapons, but they do also explode on impact or after a short distance. They're rockets, you know how this works surely. This carries the advantage of being able to blast multiple enemies with a single rocket, which means the Havoc is a great weapon for raking up the cluster luck trophies.
Wow, that took a few times to say safely and correctly.
You can launch rockets down lanes, knowing that if you hit something, you'll do massive damage, but even if you miss, the blast can do a decent chunk of damage too, especially if you get good at estimating the Havoc's maximum range to place those blasts exactly where you need them. The downside of this is that if you're used to frontlining with weapons like the Thunderstorm,
you know, if you're the kind of person who got into the gene pool when the lifeguard wasn't looking,
then being reckless with Havoc rockets can literally blow up in your face. If you hit an enemy pilot at point blank range, or even fire a rocket straight into the floor at your feet, or the wall in front of your face like an idiot, then it's going to explode, and this'll hurt you too. Remember that, don't fire the Havoc if there is something right in front of you, you absolute mouth-breathing moron. Essentially, the Havoc should be played like a long-range sniper rifle. Keep your distance and place your shots where they'll be most effective, usually right into groups of enemies. There are certain choke points like the upper right of Magma where the Havoc can control wonderfully. Enemy pilots congregating in that area are a prime target for earning you your latest cluster luck.
I really need to stop including that word in the script.
This makes the Havoc surprisingly good for last-minute clutch plays in Fuel Frenzy. You can punch out an entire portion of the enemy team, steal their cells, and run away laughing like a movie villain.
Why does it always do that?
Understanding the maps is important. You need to be able to predict where movement is coming from and fire before you see your opponent sometimes. This is also where the Havoc gets its bad name as a spammer's weapon. It's not, as we'll discuss in a moment. It's just that good Havoc pilots anticipate where their targets will be before their targets get there, which helps account for the rocket's slow movement. Who cares how slow it moves when it's already there, you know? The Havoc has a fairly long reload time, which, when twinned with that slower moving nature of the rockets and the heavy weight of the weapon, makes it very easy to deal with any room temperature IQ pilots actually trying to spam a Havoc. Duck in between shots, get up close and personal, watch and laugh as they try to fire a Havoc rocket at you and succeed in only finishing off their own health bar due to that explosive nature. As a Havoc user, you do need to be aware of that weight though. Keep your distance and back away early if you have to. Most frontliners will be able to catch you surprisingly quickly, so be aware of this and preempt any rushes. Be well away before they even start to charge. Invisibility can be useful to a Havoc pilot. People won't know where you are until you've already rammed a rocket up their jetpack exhaust, by which point it's kinda too late. But there are often better uses for the invisibility power-up. Havoc users should be keeping their distance anyway and sticking close to health power-ups. Essentially keep some range and friendly pilots between you and your target, and be near to health pickups to quickly repair any incidental damage that you do take. A Havoc user is definitely a good choice for the double damage power-up, however. A single Havoc rocket won't quite kill a pilot at full health, but a double damage rocket? Yeah, that'll turn a fully shielded pilot into pate. The double damage also applies to the blast, so you can comfortably obliterate entire groups of the enemy team at once if they're stupid enough to cluster together, which, believe me, they often are. Before we continue this, I also just need to say that the Havoc has one of the most distinctive and satisfying sound effects in ARMAJET. But what about secondary weapons? I think it goes without saying that the Enforcer is probably the best here, as it shares the Havoc's straight trajectory and combined with a Havoc rocket deals enough damage to kill a shielded target. The Marauder does deal more damage, but it also has a longer cooldown time. If the extra damage isn't needed, then the faster reload of the Enforcer makes it more effective, you understand me? I have seen people use the EMP to deal a quick blast to a group of pilots before the Havoc rocket hits, and this can definitely be used to eliminate multiple targets quickly by destroying their shields, but it does take a bit of practice to get the timing down and the angle of the EMP due to its curved trajectory. For ultimates, the Havoc has an amazing combo with the Airstrike ultimates. This was suggested to me by Houdini. Airstrikes force pilots to take cover, right? And cover is usually limited, causing pilots to group up. You know who loves grouped up enemies? That's right, Havoc pilots. Drones, on the other hand, aren't overly useful to the Havoc pilot as you're not a frontliner. Enemy pilots shouldn't be getting close enough to you for the drone to do that much, really. But turrets, yeah, they definitely have a use in the Havoc user's loadout if you really don't want to be using strikes. Alright, all that said, let's have a look at the unique weapon skins for the Havoc. Apex is the first skin we'll be looking at, and with its red, yellow and black colour scheme, the T-Rex silhouette and the flavour text, it's a fairly strong reference to Jurassic Park. The quote is, of course, alluding to Jeff Goldblum's iconic line, "Life, finds a way." To add some prehistoric bite and aggression to your Havoc, you can't go wrong with the Apex. Boomer is a weird mix of references, mainly alluding to the baby boomer generation that grew up in the 1950s and 1960s. The boomer generation is often maligned as causing all the woes of today's modern society with the rise of capitalism and the American war machine, hence the kill card artwork and flavor text. Somewhat less obvious is that the Havoc itself here is a yellow submarine, alluding to the Beatles album and film released in the late 1960s. Perfect if you want to steal your opponent's dreams and childhood with your empty rocket launcher. Trash Panda is one of my favourite skins in the entirety of ARMAJET, and every time I see it, it brings a smile to my face. Firstly, it is important to note that the term Trash Panda refers, of course, to the North American raccoon, a term that actually sprung up fairly recently thanks to Reddit. It's a mammal noted for how well it has adapted to living alongside humanity in cities, which is to say, it's a panda that raids trash. I love this skin for its simplistic minimalist design, and the fact that the stock of the Havoc is actually a ringed raccoon tail. Not to mention the clear allusion to my favourite character in the Marvel Universe.
That's for if things get really hardcore. Or if you want to blow up moons.
No one's blown up moons.
You just want to suck the joy out of everything.
Cerberus is the final Havoc skin to look at, and it's the most used due to how well it twins with Jackal's underworld skin. The reference here is to Greek mythology. Cerberus is the three-headed dog that guards the gates to the underworld to stop the dead from leaving. In the Odyssey, Heracles is tasked with the 12 labours, one of which is wrestling and capturing Cerberus without the use of iron. The 12 labours of Heracles later was Romanized to Hercules, and that's where Disney picked it up. This skin, to me at least, looks amazing and is perfect for sending your opponents to the underworld. There's just one thing that you'll need to remember.
Rule number 96! Hey!
Well, that just about wraps things up for this explosive edition of the Loadout Lowdown. Let me know your thoughts on the Havoc if you use this weapon, what you think of it. Let me know what your favourite skin is. Let me know if I missed any specific points that you think are really worth noting. Otherwise, happy sailing, and see you in the arena.